thoughts. Texas A&M loses, comes to Death Valley and loses. Clemson beats them 24-10. A lot of Texas A&M fans, just like Syracuse fans, were starting to talk a little bit about how they were going to take it to Clemson. Not only that, but a specific offensive lineman even guaranteed a win. And really, I don't even count that they scored 10 points. I only count this, in my mind, this is a 24-3 game. That garbage time, 2 timeout was classic Jimbo Fisher being, I'm not even going to say it on air, just frustrating me for sure. I know it frustrated a lot of fans, but we want to talk about kind of the thoughts on offense, the thoughts on defense, and we also have a little bit of a good, bad, and ugly to wrap it up. But what are your thoughts about Clemson and how the offense performed against Texas A&M last Saturday night?
Yeah, I got to be honest, Texas A&M played pretty good defense, I thought, for the most part. I mean, goodness gracious, you hold a Clemson team who has all these weapons to 24 points. I mean, that's a victory. You got to count that as a victory, really. I mean, you expect this team to score close to 50 a game. And they kind of, I mean, I don't know if they were confusing back there or what they were doing. I know Lawrence had a couple touchdowns where he underthrew. I'll talk about that a little more in a minute. But, kind of there was a few missed opportunities, but I thought Texas A&M played a really good game defensively anyways, just holding us to 24 points. I thought that was a really good job. So I wasn't super impressed with the offense, but again, super impressed with the team in general. I mean, you beat some, like you said, 24-3 really, without the garbage touchdown. I mean, that's impressive for, I think they were number 12 at the time when they came in Death Valley. So that's a good win. That's a dominating win. And that's exactly what we needed to do.
I like to see, it's kind of a flip-flop between the Georgia Tech game and now the Texas A&M game. The Texas A&M game, Trevor Lawrence was finally able to meet up with Justin Ross on a couple of passes, led the team in receptions and yards after really kind of going silent in Georgia Tech, and we called him out on that. We said, hey, you got to step that up. We got to get Justin Ross involved for sure. We want to see people get Rossed, and they definitely saw that. And, one of those rollout passes, it still kills me just that Trevor Lawrence can roll out to what most people say the incorrect side of the field. Right. Against his natural throwing motion and turn his shoulder square to the wide receiver while running the opposite direction out of bounds and still throw it over everyone for 35 yards into the end zone, right where Justin Ross didn't even have to barely throw his hands up, which to me is just amazing that kind of talent. I'd like to see him not have to run around like that, but just the fact that he can do that shows that he listened to Dabo. Dabo said at the beginning of the season, hey, we want you to make plays with your legs. That doesn't mean that you have to always run and go past that line of scrimmage with your feet. It just means you need to move the pocket around and get yourself a different kind of view. And he definitely did that against Texas A&M. Lynn J. Dixon, wow, when they shut down Travis Etienne. Do you feel like that Texas A&M came in the game saying, whatever we do, Travis is not getting 200 yards on us?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And I mean, it was really frustrating early, I'm sure, for Travis, like he's used to getting, 7 yards a carry or whatever it is. It's ridiculous. I mean, the guy's an incredible talent, but Texas A&M wasn't having any of it. They stopped him pretty cold for quite a while. As a matter of fact, obviously he ended up getting some yards later on in the game and had a couple catches that were big as well. But man, when they put Lynn J in, what a change of pace. He hits those holes so hard and so fast. It is really exciting to watch this kid. I can't wait to watch him going forward.
It's like he had a player wrapped around his waist like a fanny pack, but his feet just kept going. Yeah. He keeps that motor running even if he's got somebody hanging on his back. And it was awesome to see how he picked up the slack when Travis was getting shut down. Travis barely got over 2 yards per carry, I believe, but then Lynn J turned around and got over 7 yards per carry. And then that's what I said at the beginning of this season when we first saw the first game in Thursday night. I said, man, this team is adaptable. That's the word for this team for me on offense and on defense. When you shut down the pass, wide receiver U turns into running back U and just churns off over 400 yards, right? When you kind of shut down the main runner, what do? Trevor goes over for 250 yards and starts throwing the ball to Travis and was successful throwing the ball in the short flats. So they are very adaptable to any situation and can change on a dime and mold to what that defense shows them. On the flip side, they can mold to what the offense shows them. It's really, really great to see. I think this team is, because of that, is defense and offense is just better, more well-rounded. What do you think? Than even the 15-0 team, I feel like they're more well-rounded, and where we thought they were going to lose off or fall off on some spots, they really didn't.
They haven't necessarily yet. I don't think they've faced a great offense yet. Texas A&M was a good offense, I believe. And I honestly, I'm not sure they're really going to face a great offense here for a while, at least. I would definitely put, the 18 team, as a little more well-rounded overall, especially on defense. I mean, you can't lose all those players and still be, I don't want to say, I guess well-rounded. Depends on how you define that, maybe. They've done a good job. They've impressed me. Obviously, both teams have been able to move the ball a little bit more than than we kind of anticipate, that we kind of expect, from a Clemson defense. But the fact that they lost all of those guys and they're still able to hold Texas A&M to 3 points is insane. Whether it be a missed opportunity or not, those are going to happen during the game. And the fact that they're still able to hold them such a low point total is crazy. I'm just real proud of the guys.
That's talking about the defense. Let's jump over to that defensive side of the ball. Kayvon Wallace. Man, let me tell you. So they come out in a 3-3-5, and everybody says, oh, it's just for Georgia Tech. Well, they still coming out in the 3-3-5. Sometimes they're coming out in the 3-2-6. And not only that, they spelled Isaiah Simmons with Kayvon Wallace and let Kayvon be a linebacker for this game, majority of the game, which I was really interested to see how it was going to go, and it worked out great for Wallace and for Simmons, even though he almost got caught really early in the game, flat-footed for the deep ball that was overthrown by Mon. That was to the house if he had hit it, and that was right over Simmons' head, which we consistently say these guys get too comfortable with their ability. Isaiah Simmons, we know he's fast. We know Kayvon Wallace, you're fast, but we still need to stop with this letting guys just go by you, especially when you're playing center field. That should not happen. But Kayvon Wallace, man, the blitzes that he was on were amazing. He did great with them. The interception later in the game with Tanner Muse was all because of Kayvon Wallace's pressure, really. So I'm excited about him, to see him grow and be able to change positions and be, again, adaptable. Chad Smith, again, I felt like led the team. He not lead the team, but he was second on the team in tackles for the night. Mm-hmm. And they're not really AJ Terrell. He's turned into kind of that Mackenzie Alexander where they just won't throw to him. And so now they're throwing to DK, they're throwing to Nolan, and while Nolan Turner missed an open field tackle at the beginning, man, did he respond. I call Nolan Turner the new Hunter Renfrow of the Clemson Tigers because he made a mistake early, but man, he was there in a key fumble, forced a fumble to Kellen Mond, and was in on a bunch of tackles and a bunch of breakups later on in the game too. They picked on him a lot, they picked on DK a lot, and it really didn't work for him. So I'm excited about that. And then to kind of throw special teams in with defense to round it out, Will Spires was very consistent. No shanks or anything bad. 42.3 yards average, which is really what you're looking for out of someone like him that doesn't have the strongest leg in the world, but that's a pretty good average. So I felt like I said, the defense just is continuing to show that we can trust them, and showing Brent Venables that they can trust, or he can trust them too.
Yeah, sure. No doubt about it. I mean, one of my, good, bad, and ugly, we talked about the good. Brent Venables' game plan. Are you kidding me? I mean, the 3-3-5, throwing them something they were not ready for at all. Mon looked confused. They kept him in the pocket. Mon is strong when he gets out of the pocket. He's able to make plays. He's able to extend the plays, and find an open receiver. He did that at Texas A&M all game last year. A lot of that had a lot of luck involved, as y'all remember, tip passes, from linebackers and safeties, falling into the hands of the receivers. I've never seen anything like it. It was absolutely crazy. But, he said, you know what, this year we're keeping him in the pocket. And that's what he did. He kept him in there. Mon just kind of looked a little confused. He looked a little timid, and he wasn't able to make those plays. And just a brilliant job by Brent Venables, which is why he is the best in the game anywhere. He's probably the best Clemson coordinator ever. And he's definitely the best defensive coordinator in college football right now. No doubt about it. Wouldn't trade him for anybody.
So did you put down your good as Brent Venables and his defensive scheme?
Plan. Yeah.
Well, I had
one of my good.
I had the same thing for the good as well. I really put the entire defense was such a good for them, just because of the ability to be able to move from a more traditional 4-3 to now a 3-3-5. Yeah. And a question for you is, do you feel like that the 3 down linemen, would you prefer that over 4 down linemen? To be honest with you, I think that you have to trust 3 down linemen more than you would have to trust 4. A lot of people say, well, they're going to 3 because they don't have enough studs on the line. But I think that shows a lot of trust to just put 3 out there.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, that's if I can skip over to my ugly right now, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I obviously told you, I thought this was from a Clemson perspective, so I didn't have any ugly, for the opposite side. But the ugly, even though I just praised Brent Venables and all that kind of stuff, I think I texted you about this during the game. I hate when we rush 3 players. Okay. I don't mind having 3 down linemen. That's not something I'm against. I think it worked brilliantly, like we said. But I like pressure coming from another position, whether it be linebacker, safety. You can blitz a corner. I don't really care. But especially in 3rd and long situations, we consistently ran 3 out there, and they picked up several plays that was kind of frustrating 3rd and longs. I really think if you go back and watch the game and watch the film, when they picked up a big play or maybe missed a big opportunity, where you overthrew a receiver or something, we were rushing 3 and getting no pressure on the quarterback. I didn't like when we rushed 3 when we had Lawrence and Wilkins and Furl out there. So I certainly don't like it now. It just gives the quarterback too much time. You're going to find somebody open. I don't care how many DBs you have or how good they are. They're going to find somebody. And they did in that game. But again, it didn't matter because there weren't enough of those opportunities, and they weren't able to take advantage of them enough. Maybe Venables knew that. Maybe he knew Mon couldn't beat him if he had to throw within the pocket, whether his guys were open or not. I can't stand watching this rush 3 guys and getting no pressure and having somebody wide open. Even if we survive it, even if we survive and they miss the pass or something, I can't stand to watch it. So that was one of my uglies for the game.
And they were lucky in the fact that Kellen Mond was so shaken up,
right?
Even from the start. He was just overthrowing people from the start. So they didn't really have to worry about his passing game that much, and so they didn't have to kind of go back. But the 3-3-5 or the 3-2-6 dime kind of formation, quarter dime, they kind of did a quarter a little bit too with 3 people back. But that formation allows for blitzes from the cornerbacks a lot. And you saw that with XT and AJ and, Kayvon just kind of blitzing from the outside, more of a lining up in the slot, but then not just sprinting as hard as they could to the quarterback. Right. And that kind of stuff really shook him up pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And I think it, caused obviously his poor performance. You talk about this. I think David Hood put this on Twitter. Where you talk about how, well, it was the quarterback just was shaken. He just wasn't, he wasn't playing his game right. Nobody wants to give the compliment to the defense that the defense put the pressure and he couldn't perform under the defense. So yes. It depends on what team you're on, right? If you're, that's right. What you're saying or not. But the bad for me, I'm not picking on the guy, but this is another week where I'm seeing James Skalski wrapping up people, and they're like sliding out of his arms. Yeah, it didn't happen often, but there's 2 or 3 tackles where I said, here he is, boom, he locks up on him, and it's like he just loses his stick, and they slip right out, and he falls all the way. He grabs him up at the top of the shoulder pads, and then just kind of like slides down the body. And so I'm a little concerned with that. I want to see that cleaned up. I saw it some in the Georgia Tech game. I'm seeing it again in the Texas A&M game. Towards the end of the game, they actually put Jake Venables in at middle linebacker to kind of try that out a little bit. I don't know if that was just because of the amount of snaps being played or not. I still trust James Skalski for sure. Just would like to see him clean that up, especially from a middle linebacker perspective. The bad for me, obviously, we already talked about him. Kellen Mond was just all over the place. And then the ugly for me, all right, let me give you my ugly.
Sure.
The fact that you're down, and Mickey went on a whole, on the Roar, went on a whole tirade about this. But you've got 12 minutes left in the game. In the 4th quarter, you're down 21 points or so, and you're still running the game clock down to 1 second. Yeah. And you're doing this like fake snap, which I felt like was a snap infraction every single time. Right. Like pretending to clap but not clapping, and then the offensive lineman pointing. I think that shouldn't be allowed, because there were a couple of times that I felt like they were doing it just to mess with us. And then you get all the way down, Al, you get all the way down to the goal line and call 2 timeouts because you got to score.
Yep.
That is the ugly for me. Just completely ruined my pick because they broke the spread, so just really made me mad. Gave you the win on that, and me the loss. But to not have the sense of urgency. You won the time of possession by almost 6 minutes and lose the game by really over 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm actually going to go through real quick if I can hit. I had one more good point that I wanted to talk about. How about our boy Amari Rodgers? Okay, the return of Amari Rodgers. It was good to see number 3 back out there. He obviously got a couple catches. Man, he was running hard when he got that catch too. It was awesome. You can tell he has worked his tail off to get back out there on the field, and I really think this is going to be a huge boost for the Clemson offense going forward. Have that more traditional slot guy in there. So very proud of Amari Rodgers. Glad he rehabbed so quickly and got back. It's just good to see him out there for sure. When we were talking about the bad, all right, we got to find something. Like we said, I thought this was all Clemson, so I had to find something. I want to pick on Trevor Lawrence for his underthrows. He's been doing that a little bit consistently this year, underthrowing a lot on the deep ball. And, man, it is really hard to talk bad about Trevor Lawrence. As a matter of fact, he really should come through the computer and just kick us in the teeth. All right, it's not really fair. We love Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, we think he's going to be, huge going on the rest of the year. But he has had a little trouble with that. Had a little trouble with interceptions in the first game, actually had one this game, but he's just missing some of the big passes. He'll get there, okay? But you got, like I said, we were looking for something. And Justin Ross, you mentioned Justin Ross earlier in the game. He also dropped 2 passes in a row, okay? Late in the game. As far as I'm concerned, he has met his drop quota for the whole year, okay? I don't expect Justin Ross to ever drop a pass. And he dropped a couple in a row, on a drive near the end of the game. It would have been first downs. That final score, so you could really just kind of breathe and take it easy. So I'm getting angry at him for that. He's going to have to do better than that. I expect nothing but perfection from Justin Ross here going forward. Ugly, we kind of matched up a little bit. I think you called it the bad. I called it the ugly. I had the Skowski missed tackles in there as well. You heard nothing but good things about how dominant he was and how he was going to turn heads this season. I still think he can, but it's a little bit concerning right now that, he had so many problems with the missed tackles in the first game. And I noticed a couple, in this game as well, like you mentioned. I believe I texted you about it, or you texted me, I think, about that actually first. Skowski with a couple missed tackles. Look, we get it. There's a lot of plays in a football game, okay? There's a lot of times that he does a lot of good things, I would imagine. But you remember the bad ones, okay? Unfortunately, you remember the bad ones. They stick out. If you don't have a big touchdown to offset it with or something like that, you're going to remember the bad stuff. So hopefully he gets that cleaned up moving forward, and he's obviously able to be the player everybody thought that he was going to be for us this year. And I already talked about my other ugly rushing 3, so, I won't go on a tirade about that again. But, that's kind of my overall thoughts for the game, some of the things I picked out. It was a good game, good win for Clemson. Ready to move on to the next one.
Well, I tell you, I like the 3-3-5. I like the 3-2-6. I like the formations that they're doing to change the looks, to mold, to fit the defense, to fit their players and the personnel that they have. So I think Brent Venables is just showing up and showing out about how good of a coach he is on the defensive side of things. It's exciting to see.